What's going on my fantasy football fans? Welcome to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Waiver Wire Queen. This week, we are going to talk about our top waiver wire ads at every position. Week 5 is approaching. You have to make sure you are putting in the right claims for the right players. There are several things that have gone on, injuries. Some players just simply haven't played well. So we definitely need to make sure that we have the best players on our roster, and that's including your bench. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have a lot of great content, which is going to help you every week compare and compete against your league mates. Now let's talk about these top waiver wire ads. We'll kick this thing off with our quarterbacks. Geno Smith with the Seattle Seahawks has surprised me this year. He has played extremely well. He has been one of the more consistent quarterbacks, which again to me has been a surprise, but nonetheless have to give props and respect to Geno Smith for making the Seattle Seahawks offense look much better than what I expected this year. He has played better than some quarterbacks you may currently have on your roster. Some people are still holding on to Justin Fields in a redraft league. No, he isn't playing well. He isn't producing. Geno Smith is. So drop Justin, add Geno. If nothing else, Geno Smith can help you during bye weeks, or if you're dealing with injuries, he can help you in that regards as well. So far on the season, he's thrown for 1,037 yards. He has 6 touchdowns versus 2 interceptions, which is great. And he has 1 rushing touchdown on the season. And he has been consistent. I will tell you this, week 5 is not a very good matchup versus the Saints. So you're adding Geno Smith for long-term depth at the quarterback position, any event that your quarterback isn't playing well going forward, or just to be cautious when it comes to injuries, because injuries are part of the game and you want to be prepared for that. Let's be clear, Marcus Mariota and Mitch are still on people's rosters and they haven't played well at all. I don't know what the hell Marcus Mariota did week 4, but it wasn't good, although the Falcons won. Can't have nothing to do with it, y'all. But nonetheless, Ryan Tannehill with the Tennessee Titans is another solid option. He has a very good matchup this week. Early on, I'll say the first 2 weeks of the season, Ryan Tannehill looked horrible. Wasn't great week 4, but he did enough to win the game and be serviceable. Week 3 was a very good week for him, and he has a very good matchup versus the Washington Commanders, whose defense has looked horrible this year. They have all those good players on defense, and it just hasn't looked well. It just Ryan Tannehill is a nice option this week. If nothing else, if you don't feel confident in your fantasy football league, then maybe in DFS. So far on the season, he's thrown for 784 yards, 5 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Again, he's improving. The Tennessee Titans are back to what they are known for, running the football and setting the offense up through Derrick Henry. And when they do that, that helps Ryan Tannehill, which has occurred the last 2 weeks to an extent. So if you can pick Ryan Tannehill up, go on and pick him up. This is a very good matchup for him. Now let's talk about our running backs. Tyler Algier with the Falcons is a nice ad, if nothing else, as an insurance policy, especially if you have Patterson. He didn't practice as much this week due to a knee injury or whatever knee trouble he is having. He played week 4. However, he was on the sidelines for an extended period of time, and Tyler was in there. Huntley was in there. Patterson got in there. I mean, Tyler and Caleb Huntley both had 10 rushes apiece to Patterson's 9. Now, if Patterson was 100% healthy, we know that it would have been more of 3, maybe 5 rush attempts for Tyler Algier versus like 15, maybe 20 for Patterson. But something is wrong with his knee. So if you have Patterson, you may want to secure his backup in the event that he is unable to go week 5, or if they kind of cut back and start utilizing the other running backs a little more. And they played very well versus Seattle. Tyler Algier had 10 rush attempts for 84 yards and 1 wreck for 24. One reception for 20 yards. So he had a very good game. And if nothing else, if you have Patterson, you just want to make sure that you have his backup if there is something more going on with that knee. You want to make sure you secure other options at that running back position to help you in the event that he's unable to go, or again, if they do kind of cut back on his minutes slightly. Another great ad at the running back position is J.D. McKissic with the Commanders. This is a very good ad for Dev. He is the third down back. He's going to be involved. He has been involved. He has 65 rushing yards, 23 targets on 19 receptions, and 122 receiving yards, which is solid. I expected them to get him involved a little bit more. However, it hasn't happened. But if you are struggling when you are looking on the waiver wire for players to add, he can help. He can be a low-end flex play if you don't have someone who is capable of scoring you any points. There are players who are really doing bad and not giving you anything, and better to get some points than no points. So consider J.D. McKissic. Another great ad, and this is purely based on injury concerns, especially if you have Jonathan Taylor. Hines with the Colts. Taylor is dealing with an ankle injury. We'll have to wait to see if he's going to miss time, if he's going to be ready for Thursday Night Football. If you have Taylor, you may want to secure Hines in the event that he is unable to go due to that ankle injury, because you drafted Taylor probably with the number 1 pick. And obviously right now he's not producing like a number 1 pick. But if he has to miss time, you don't have anyone else reliable, then next best thing would be to look at his replacement or some of these other options that we're talking about at the running back position. Another really good ad is Raheem Mostert with the Dolphins. He just looked like the better running back week 4 versus Cincinnati. Played more. He was efficient. Chase Edmonds, to me, needs to just stay as the third down back and maybe let Raheem be the short yardage first, second down back, because he just looked better and he was rewarded with more opportunities and more playing time on the field because he just looked better versus Cincinnati. And that's simply what it is. On the season, rushing wise, he has 39 rush attempts for 147 yards, and he's averaging 3.8 yards per carry, which isn't great. However, he's just really starting to get into things. Receiving wise, 6 receptions on 56 yards. And again, he just looked better than Chase Edmonds. So if I had Chase Edmonds, I would probably look into adding Raheem because he's playing more. And we already know the head coach came from the 49ers. Raheem came from the 49ers. And he knows that offense inside out. And he looked good when he was with the 49ers. It was just a matter of staying healthy. So if you can pick him up, go in and pick him up. Another great ad, and this is another injury concern, Latavius Murray, running back with the Saints. Latavius Murray had a very good game in London versus the Vikings. He played very well. Although Ingram did score a touchdown, Latavius Murray looked better, had a better game, just overall was the better running back. If Alvin Kamara has to miss any more time, Latavius Murray is a very good option at the running back position. So if you can pick him up, then do so. Ingram most likely isn't available in deeper leagues, and some people who have Alvin may have handcuffed Ingram to Alvin. So if you can pick up Latavius Murray, pick him up. Okay, another great ad, and this is another injury concern. We're seeing a lot of injuries, especially from some of our promising top tier players who we had high expectations for this year at the running back position. Javonte Williams may be dealing with a serious knee injury, had to leave the game. He was seen walking on crutches, which is very concerning, especially if you have Javonte Williams, because you had high expectations for him this year. So if you can pick up Melvin Gordon, which he most likely isn't available, then maybe pick up Mike Boone, because I'll be honest with you, Melvin Gordon has fumbled the ball a lot this year, and that's not good. I don't care who you are. If you're fumbling the ball, that means you are putting the team at risk of losing opportunities on offense, and that is a liability. So if Melvin Gordon is available, pick him up. But Mike Boone is somebody to keep in mind too, because again, if Melvin Gordon continues to fumble the football, he won't be the starter in the event that Javonte Williams has to miss some time. So consider Mike Boone. He was able to get in there and play a little bit as well. Now let's talk about some wide receivers that you should be putting your claim in for this week. A lot of things happened in that Steelers game. One thing we do know is we want to see what Kenny Pickett truly has. Although, he was able to get some of the wide receivers involved. The passing game looked a lot better with Kenny Pickett out there. He did have 3 interceptions, but George Pickens finally had that game. George Pickens is going to see a lot more opportunities if Kenny Pickett is on the football field. We talked about adding George Pickens last week. I hope you did. If not, go on and add him this week. And we're hoping that Kenny Pickett is the guy, because the offense just isn't moving. It doesn't look good with Mitch as the starting quarterback. So hopefully it's going to be Kenny Pickett. But again, we know that Pickens has the talent, the catch versus the Browns. We know that he is showing flashes of having a lot of talent and being a steal, especially in a dynasty league. Next season, if it's going to be Kenny Pickett, George Pickens is going to really have a breakout year. But if you can pick him up, pick him up. Week 4 was a very good week for him. 6 receptions, 102 yards. On a season, 11 receptions, 167 yards. Kenny Pickett and George Pickens have a rapport. They've played during preseason together. So I'm not surprised there. Although Pickett had the 3 interceptions, again, the offense just looked better in regards to the passing game with Pickett opposed to Mitch, although the Steelers did lose. And Tomlin is in jeopardy of having his first losing season. It's just looking like that's what's going to happen if they don't get this quarterback situation resolved. Because to me, although the defense is kind of up and down, the offense isn't doing anything. You have Najee Harris not doing anything. It's just not looking great. But pick up George Pickens, and you'll be very, very happy with George Pickens going forward. Another very good add is Josh Reynolds with the Lions. If St. Brown and DJ Chark miss any more time, Reynolds is definitely a great play on the season. 17 receptions, 243 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had a very good game week 4. If you played him in DFS, he was very cheap, and he produced for you. So if you can, pick him up, because again, we don't know if St. Brown's going to be able to go or DJ Chark, and we know Williams isn't ready, and there's no date as to when he is going to actually return to the football field. So Josh Reynolds, pick him up, y'all. Another nice add is Matt Collins, okay? We are playing in some deep leagues, and we are looking, who should I pick up? Matt Collins is still out there. Pick him up with the Raiders. He's definitely involved. They're going to be throwing the football a lot because they seem to have trouble leading in games or sustaining the lead. So they're going to be throwing the football a lot. Sometimes they won't be able to get it to Devontae Adams all the time, or Darren Waller. So Matt Collins, and then with Hunter Renfrow still out dealing with a concussion, and those concussions take some time to truly heal, Matt Collins is definitely right now the number 2 wide receiver opposite of Adams. So pick up Matt Collins. Another great add, and he's still available in redraft leagues. Jahan Dotson with the Commanders. Yes, please pick him up. I'll let you know he is dealing with a hamstring injury. He sustained a hamstring injury week 4 versus the Dallas Cowboys. Did not return to the game, but we don't care. We want that production sitting on our bench. If you have an IR slot, if he has to miss some time, slide him into that IR spot, because he has been one of the more consistent wide receivers. No, I'll say this. One of the more consistent players on the Washington Commanders on the offensive side of the ball. So you know what you need to do? Pick him up because he is available. 12 receptions, 152 yards, and 4 touchdowns on the season. So pick him up and win. That's what it's all about. You want to build a team, not just with your starters, your bench players come into play. You know, there's a lot of injuries going on. So pick him up. Another sneaky ad, and again, these are for deep leagues. Alec Pierce with the Colts, okay, has been more involved the last 2 games. And if he's going to be more involved, you need to add him, okay? 7 receptions, 143 receiving yards on the season. Add him in deep leagues because there's going to be times where Pittman is not going to be able to get the ball. Matt Ryan is looking real horrible right now, but hell, 2 weeks ago, Carson was looking great, but now the Colts is just going to have to go and draft the quarterback because these quarterbacks that they are trading for, it's not cutting. They ain't cutting it. But go on and add Alec Pierce in deeper leagues. Another ad is Rondale Moore with the Cardinals. He has returned from dealing with his own hamstring injury. And you can see the hamstring injuries take a few weeks. And it also depends on the extent of the injury, I'm sure. So he's back. Played versus the Panthers. Really didn't do much. 3 recs, 11 yards. That's not much. But this is supposed to be his breakout season, right? We're hoping for a breakout year for him. Pick him up and just add him to your bench. Let's talk about some tight ends. It's very hard to find tight ends on waivers. It's just like, who should I add? It's extremely hard, guys. But I'll tell you this, add Will Dissly at the tight end position. He has been one of the more consistent players for the Seattle Seahawks. Simply a surprise this season to me, considering when they made the trade for Russell Wilson, right? They traded Russell Wilson. They received a young, talented Noah Fant in the trade. He's a part of what they're doing, but it feels like Will Dissly is just involved a little bit more. This week, they got both tight ends involved, but Will Dissly has been consistent the last few weeks, and you already know their injuries. They're also tight ends who we thought would be good this year, who simply haven't lived up to anything, and we want the players on our team who are playing well. So in deep league, this is another very good ad on the season. 12 receptions, 116 yards, and 3 touchdowns. They're looking for him in the red zone. He is a part of what they're doing. Geno Smith is playing very well, and Geno Smith is looking for Will Dissly. So pick him up. Pick him up. At times, he is on the field playing more and more involved offensively than Noah Fant, and it also can be because he's more familiar with the offense. Nonetheless, if you just don't have any options at the tight end position, then Will Dissly is a very good option. Another very good ad is Tyler Conklin with the Jets. He is still out there. He is the #1 tight end for the Jets. Why were we surprised about this? He had a very good season with the Vikings last year, and he's simply playing very well this year. Now I would kind of monitor his production with Zach Wilson versus Joe Flacco. So that is the only thing that you probably need to kind of consider, because Joe Flacco may have just been utilizing him a little bit more, but Zach Wilson was able to get him involved week 4. So consider him on a season, 21 receptions, 192 yards, 1 touchdown through 4 weeks of this early NFL season. So go on and add Conklin if you can. Another very good ad, and he is still out on waivers and available, and it's shocking to me. It's David Njoku with the Browns. Why is he still on waivers? If nothing else, prepare for when Watson returns, because guess what? He's going to get him involved. Watson utilizes tight ends a lot, especially in the red zone in Houston. And again, it's Amari Cooper, right? And then maybe Kareem Hunt if they get him involved. But to me, it's Amari, Njoku. They're going to get them involved, and Watson will get him involved. So please pick him up on the season. 18 receptions, 201 yards, 1 touchdown through 4 weeks. Should see more opportunities going forward. Just pick him up, and don't let someone else in your league pick him up, all right? Don't do it. Some other players you may want to consider adding, and this could be if you are planning ahead, is Brian Robinson. There's no timetable for his return, but if you have an IR slot and you can afford to add him, then consider adding him. Just do some research on him. If you have Antonio Gibson, you definitely should be trying to understand what's going on with Brian Robinson and when he is projected to return, because he's eligible to return week 5. Doesn't mean he's going to return week 5, but you simply never know. Some other ads that you may want to consider, and for the Chiefs offense at the running back position, it's a crapshoot. Obviously, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the lead guy. Then you see a lot of McKinnon involved, so maybe look at McKinnon, or they're getting the young rookie Pacheco involved. So with that, if you just have to add a running back and none of these other guys are available, you can kind of look and see which one of those guys are going to be more involved outside of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because he's only playing like 40-something% of the snaps. So McKinnon was playing at least 50, but with Sunday Night Football, it looked a little bit different. So keep that in mind as well. And also, and this is just a maybe, look and see what Zach Wilson is doing. If he is able to start playing much better, then he may be somebody you may want to consider at the quarterback position, because again, you have to start looking at your bye weeks, because we are starting to deal with bye weeks. So you need to plan accordingly. If he's not playing well, don't do it. But keep in mind, he may be a very good ad at quarterback, depending on the matchups. Another solid ad is Jared Goff at the quarterback position, because he's just been one of the more consistent quarterbacks for the most part. Had a very good week 4, and that's all we want. If you only need to use Jared Goff for your bye week and he is able to get you 20 to 25 fantasy points, then that is great. Job done, and then you move on. Or you can use him as trade baits. There are some teams that are struggling at the quarterback position, whether that is due to poor play or injuries. And you really need to kind of consider that. Think about it. Jared Goff, Geno Smith, playing better than Russell Wilson overall this season. But again, it's only 4 games. We're going to hope Wilson is able to kind of get better, looked much better today, week 4. But we'll have to see. So keep that in mind and plan ahead. Leave some comments and let me know which players you are considering adding week 5 in fantasy football. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have a lot of great content which will help you throughout the fantasy football season and prepare every week to face your competition. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. We have a great episode. We'll talk about some players that have disappointed so far in fantasy football. Y'all have a great week.
Thanks for listening to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast.